long before the great battles of Crécy, Poitiers and Agincourt, before kings, knights and armies marched across the fields of France. The story of the English longbow began in the quiet villages and woodlands of medieval England. It began with ordinary people whose lives followed the rhythm of the seasons, whose days were shaped by farming, hunting, and hard work. Among the ancient oak forests and scattered yew trees of England, boys were raised to become skilled archers from an early age, not as soldiers, but as sons, as craftsmen, as hunters. Inside simple timber cottages, every member of the family played a part. Bread was baked before dawn. Arrow shafts were carefully fashioned by hand. Goose feathers became the fletchings that would guide each arrow through the air. Village blacksmiths forged hardened bodkin points, small pieces of iron that would one day prove capable of piercing armour once thought impossible to defeat. Leather quivers were stitched to carry the finished arrows, while the precious yew longbow itself was carefully tended, oiled, protected, respected. It was far more than a weapon. It was a family's livelihood, their food, their future. The first lessons came not on the battlefield, but in the forest. Young hunters learned patience, silence, and accuracy. Each successful shot meant food on the table. Each missed arrow was another lesson learned. Life revolved around the village. Children played beneath ancient oaks. Neighbours gathered on the village green. And by royal command, archery practice became part of everyday English life. Sunday after Sunday, after church bells had fallen silent, men and boys gathered to draw the great bows, hour after hour, year after year. Strength was earned, not given. Across quiet country lane, through golden harvest fields, England was unknowingly preparing a generation unlike any Europe had ever seen. As the sun set across the English countryside, few could have imagined that these humble villagers would one day change the course of history forever. At first glance, the English longbow appeared almost ordinary, a single piece of wood, no steel, no gears, no complicated machinery, just a simple stave, carefully shaped by human hands. Yet hidden within that graceful curve was one of the most powerful handheld weapons the medieval world had ever known. Its secret began long before the bowyer ever lifted a tool. It began with the yew tree, slow-growing, tough, and remarkably resilient. The yew possessed qualities found in few other timbers. Nature itself had engineered the perfect combination. The pale outer sapwood stretched under tension, while the rich red heartwood compressed under pressure. Together, they formed a natural spring, a living design perfected over centuries of growth. Not every tree was suitable. A skilled bowyer would walk quietly through the woodland, studying each trunk with an experienced eye. Every twist, every knot, every growth ring told a story. Choosing the wrong tree meant failure before the work had even begun. Choosing the right one could create a bow capable of changing history. Back in the workshop, the rough yew stave was shaped patiently with a draw knife. Long curls of wood fell to the floor. There were no measurements carved in stone, no printed plans, only experience, judgment, and remarkable craftsmanship. Then came one of the most delicate stages of all, tillering. Again and again. The bow was gently bent. Small amounts of wood were carefully removed until both limbs flexed together in perfect harmony. Remove too much, and the bow was ruined forever. Remove too little, and it would never reach its full power. Nothing was hurried. Perfection demanded patience. Even the bowstring was made with equal care. Strong linen fibres, twisted patiently by hand, and formed the connection between man and weapon, simple in appearance, yet capable of enduring astonishing forces. Finally, the work was complete. The finished war bow lay beside its arrows, elegant, beautiful, deadly. Many measured nearly 6 feet in length, and the most powerful required draw weights of well over 100 pounds. To the untrained man, drawing such a bow could seem almost impossible. Every muscle strained, the shoulders protested, the fingers burned. Most people simply lacked the strength. But years of practice transformed ordinary villagers into extraordinary archers. A trained longbowman could draw the great bow smoothly, anchor without hesitation, and release with astonishing speed, again and again and again. As England's need for longbows increased, even her own forests could no longer satisfy demand. Bundles of carefully selected yew staves began arriving by ship, imported from Spain, northern Italy, and the alpine forests of Europe. What had once been a simple hunting weapon had become a national industry. England was quietly preparing the finest corps of archers the medieval world had ever seen. Soon their skill, their discipline, and their longbows would be tested on the battlefields of France.